Madan Mohan Temple and Sanatana Goswami represent the Sambandha Gyan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us that the essence of all the true Vedic literatures can be understood to be revealing Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Sambandha means to establish our relationship with Krishna. To understand who we are. Lord Chaitanya began his teachings to Sanatana Goswami in Varanasi with this simple principle. Jiveta Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. We are not these bodies. We are the eternal soul, which is Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. Just like a spark ray of the sun is part of the sun. Achintya beta beta tattva. Qualitatively, we are none different than Krishna. But quantitatively, Krishna is the complete whole. And we are just an infinitesimal part. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Krishna is the supreme proprietor. Krishna is the supreme controller. And we are all eternally the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Inherent within the heart of every living being is love for Krishna. And the highest dharma is to awaken that love from within our hearts. To understand Krishna as the ultimate object of our love and our service is the beginning of true bhakti. In this world, we have forgotten Krishna because we are endlessly distracted. Recently in America, I was giving a lecture with a very prominent professor, Princeton University. And this professor, during the talk, he said, the problem with the world that we live in today is everyone is being conquered by the weapons of mass distraction. Maya is constantly conquering us, birth after birth after birth, through distractions. And what is that distraction? Ultimately, bewildering us to think I am the enjoyer, the controller, and the proprietor. We're looking for love. We're looking for prema. But we're trying to find it through superficial, temporary pleasures. Pleasures to the senses. Rubbing something against our physical body, our limbs, against our tongue, on a subtle level, rubbing some subtle elements of sound against our ears, rubbing sights against our eyes. The pleasures of fame, prestige, control over others. And even when one takes to the spiritual path, these distractions do not stop. In fact, often they are intensified. But in the path of bhakti, the more they're intensified, the more we realize we only have one shelter. Krishna's mercy. Sambandha means the only hope of overcoming the unlimited distractions of this world created by Madana or Kamadev is Param Drisvani Vartate, to experience a higher taste. And that higher taste is the mercy of Krishna. The whole world is conquered by Madana, but Madana is bewildered by Krishna. When we take shelter of Krishna, when Krishna reveals himself to us by his mercy, we could rise above the fears and the temptations of this material existence. Abhideya means once we establish our relationship with Krishna as his eternal servants, and we understand Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam, that Krishna's body is Parabrahman. The all-pervading light of the Brahman is simply the bodily rays of Krishna, the all-attractive one. His body is eternal. It's the source of all beauty, the source of all sweetness. And to love Krishna as the Supreme Person is the true aspiration of every soul. To engage in the 9 processes of devotional service with deep attachment is Abhideya. And Radha Govinda is that Murti. And Rupa Goswami is our Guru. I'd like to speak briefly about, actually I was hoping to speak about all this temples of the Goswamis this evening, but I got carried away, I'm sorry. Should I continue? I will go very fast now. Otherwise, we'll have to extend our yatra. When Sri Rupa Goswami left Ramakeli, he and his brother Anupam distributed all their wealth. Then they sent a messenger to Jagannath Puri. They asked, where is Lord Chaitanya? And they got a message back that Lord Chaitanya has gone to Vrindavan. So Rupa Goswami and Anupam, they started heading toward Vrindavan. And when they came to Prayag, the confluence of Yamuna, Saraswati, and Ganga, they saw something that had never been seen before. Although these 3 rivers, since time immemorial, have been coming there together, the town of Prayag was never completely flooded. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, during the month of Magh, after he had left Vrindavan, he was doing Harinam Kirtan and literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people were loudly crying out the holy names, and the whole Prayag was flooded with prema bhakti. Lord Chaitanya was at the Veni Madhava temple, ecstatically dancing. And Rupa and Anupam, when they saw him, they offered their prostrated obeisances. And it was at that time, in that scene, that Rupa Goswami composed the famous verse, Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Godatveshe Namaha. Krishna has appeared in this beautiful form of Lord Gauranga. He's Krishna himself, but the most munificent of all incarnations, because he's giving love of Krishna in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan freely to the people in this age of Kali. I offer my obeisances to him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he instructed Rupa Goswami at the Dasaswamedha Ghat at Prayag for 10 days. He began his teachings by describing how rare the human form of life is. There are 8,400,000 species. To take the human form is so special. But among people who are humans, most people simply follow their minds and senses and do not regulate their lives according to spiritual religious principles. And most people who do that, they follow spiritual principles simply so that they can get some temporary enjoyment, either in this life or through heavenly attainments. It's very rare to find someone who's actually approaching God for a transcendental purpose. And of those who do that, so many are trying to find liberation in the impersonal Brahman. It's very rare to find someone who's actually seeking the highest perfection of Krishna Prem. When a human being or a spirit soul wanders through millions and millions of births throughout universes, the greatest fortune is when that person meets a bona fide spiritual master who plants the seed of devotion, the bhakti lata bij within the heart. There is nothing so sacred as that seed. And Lord Chaitanya taught by watering that seed through hearing about the Lord, through chanting the names of the Lord, through following the 9 processes of devotional service, that seed is nourished. But one must be very careful, because along with that seed, many weeds will grow. The weed of desire for profit, adoration, distinction, the weed of false ego, the weed of the tendency to criticize others, to waste our time. And unless we can very carefully identify what is the true bhakti lata bija, then Maya's power is we will water the weed thinking that that is the seed of devotion. For that we need to discriminate. Srila Prabhupada has given us his books and the association of devotees to help us to actually discriminate and continue to water the seed of devotion. we must, by following the regulative principles, protect the seed of devotion. And if we continue watering and watering, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Rupa Goswami, then that seed will grow. It will go beyond the heavenly planets, go beyond the Viraja, the river that is the demarcation between material and spiritual worlds. It will grow through the Brahmajyoti. It will reach the Vaikuntha planets, continue growing until ultimately it comes to the highest planet of the spiritual world, Goloka. And then it will bear fruit. And that fruit will fall as an offering at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And the gardener, who's still in this world, practicing devotional service, will taste that fruit, and all his or her desires will be fulfilled forever. Lord Chaitanya taught Rupa Goswami about the difference between Aishwarya Bhava and Madhurya Bhava. The difference between the love of God in Vaikuntha, which is limited by the knowledge of Krishna's supreme, majestic supremacy, and the love of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Where we could love Krishna as our intimate friend, Sakyaras. Where we love Krishna as our own child, Vatsalyaras. Or with the complete freedom of loving Krishna as a transcendental lover. Vrindavan is the place where liberation from all material desires, entanglement, and all traces of ego have long before been transcended. Vrindavan is the place where Krishna accepts us as his intimate friends and lovers. He explained all of these beautiful principles to Rupa Goswami and then ordered him to go to Vrindavan and expand upon them through Vaishnava literatures. At that time, Lord Chaitanya was going to Varanasi, where he was about to meet Sanatana Goswami. Rupa Goswami wanted to go with him. But Lord Chaitanya said, you should go to Vrindavan. And after some time, come and meet me in Puri. Lord Chaitanya got on a boat, and Rupa Goswami, in separation, fell to the ground unconscious. And eventually came here to Vrindavan. Subhuti Rai took him to the 12 forests. And then he went to Puri with the hope of meeting Sanatana Goswami, but Sanatana Goswami went by one road and Rupa Goswami went by another road, and they missed each other. In Puri, so many beautiful revelations of Rupa Goswami's glory were manifested by the Lord. Rupa Goswami stayed at Haridas Thakur's Siddhabakula. Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Haridas Thakur, they never even attempted to enter Jagannath's temple because they felt themselves unqualified. So Lord Chaitanya gave them a place where they could see the chakra and worship Jagannath in that form. And every single day, Lord Chaitanya, who is Jagannath himself, would come out of the temple of Jagannath with Mahaprasad and personally offer it to Haridas Thakur with his own hands. And that is where Rupa and Sanatan would stay when they were there as well. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would spend hours with them discussing Krishna Katha and exchanging love with them. During the Ratha Yatra, Rupa Goswami saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incredible love in the mood of Radha taking Krishna to Vrindavan after long, long separation. And Lord Chaitanya was singing in front of Jagannath's chariot in the mood of Sri Radha's love. A beautiful verse. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami reveals eloquently what Lord Chaitanya's mood was. When the Brijabasis, headed by Srimati Radharani, met Krishna in Kurukshetra after long, long separation, Sri Radharani was praying to Krishna that here in Kurukshetra you are dressed as a royal prince and you're surrounded by soldiers and majestic elephants. But I long to bring you back to Vrindavan, where you're wearing the simple Gunja Mala and a garland of forest flowers, and there's a little peacock feather in your hair, where you're surrounded by cows and kadamba trees and the beautiful river Yamuna. Krishna, I know that you do not enjoy even a fraction of happiness anywhere else but Vrindavan. For your pleasure, I want to bring you back. This was the mood of Lord Chaitanya praying to Jagannath. And Lord Chaitanya was presenting it in such a way that it appeared just like two young lovers of this world. And Rupa Goswami wrote a commentary to Lord Chaitanya's mood and put it on a little palm leaf, stuck it in the roof of Haridas Thakur's hut, and then went to take bath. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happened to come at that time. Rupa Goswami wasn't there, and Lord Chaitanya happened to see this palm leaf, and when he read it, he was struck with wonder. Rupa Goswami has understood the most intimate, confidential feelings of my heart. He brought that palm leaf back to Swarup Damodar Goswami, and Swarup Damodar Goswami said, it's only possible because you have showered your mercy upon him. Lord Chaitanya said, yes. When I met Rupa Goswami at Prayag, seeing his humility, seeing the sincerity of his devotion, I embraced him. And with that embrace, I empowered his heart to completely and fully understand the innermost secrets of my heart and to reveal them to the world. When Rupa Goswami came back to the hut, he bowed down to Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya asked him, how did you know my mind? And Rupa Goswami didn't say anything. And Lord Chaitanya gently slapped him. Another day, Rupa Goswami was visited by Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya asked him, please show me what you are writing today. And Rupa Goswami showed him a particular verse that he had written on a palm leaf. Just seeing the handwriting of Rupa Goswami, Lord Chaitanya was intoxicated before he even read it. He said, your handwriting is as beautiful as rows of pearls. And then he read the verse. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When I chant the name of Krishna, I wish I had many, many tongues for the name to dance upon. And when that name enters into my ears, I desire many millions and millions of ears. And when it enters my heart, it conquers my mind and my senses become inert. Haridas Thakur, hearing this, never heard anything that so powerfully and beautifully and comprehensively described the glories of the holy names. The next day, Lord Chaitanya brought Ramananda Rai, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and many other of his most confidential devotees. And there Lord Chaitanya had Rupa Goswami read his writings. That's a beautiful narration in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the conclusion of that meeting is the most confidential associates of Sri Chaitanya and the Lord himself all unanimously established that Rupa Goswami was that personality who was empowered to lead our sampradaya. And therefore, all the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we identify ourselves as Rupanugas, those who follow the teachings and the footsteps of Sri Rupa Goswami. Lord Chaitanya sent him back to Vrindavan, where along with Sanatana Goswami, they were excavating the holy places. They were writing transcendental literatures. They were living by the highest standards of ecstatic love in the mood of the gopis. Teaching by their examples in every way. What Rupa Goswami had accomplished was inconceivable, unbelievable. But yet in his heart, he was feeling an emptiness. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially wanted Rupa Goswami to find the deity of Radha Govinda. Sri Rupa Goswami searched throughout the whole Braj Bhumi, going into temples, going into the homes of the Brajavasis, asking so many questions, looking through scriptures, trying to find maps. But he couldn't find Govinda Dev, the prominent deity of this section of Vrindavan, according to the ancient times of Krishna, of Bhadranab. One day Rupa Goswami was sitting on the bank of the river Yamuna, and he was feeling this heavy, it's monkey. He was feeling a heaviness of heart. And a beautiful little Brijabasi boy, he was so calm, peaceful, so sweet. He said, "Swami, you look distressed. Can you tell me what is wrong?" And this little boy just won so much of the trust and affection of Rupa Goswami, he poured his heart out to him. Here is Rupa Goswami. He's a great pundit. He's a great renunciate. And he's pouring his heart out to this tiny little boy. He said, "I've looked everywhere. I have not fulfilled the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because I can't find Govinda Dev." And the little cowherd boy said, "Don't be in distress, Swami. I know where Govinda is. Close by, there is a little hill called the Gomatil. And there is a Surabi cow that comes every day. And there Rupa Goswami saw this cow letting down large quantities of milk all alone into the ground. And then the boy disappeared. And as soon as the boy was no longer to be seen, Rupa Goswami understood that that was Govinda himself. Krishna appeared to me and took me by the hand, and I didn't even recognize him. I didn't offer any seva to him. Rupa Goswami fell unconscious. For a long time, when he came to consciousness, he understood what his service was. So when he went and informed the local Brijabasis that Govinda Dev was under the ground. And they all came there. And just as they approached the place, Lord Balaram, in the form of an invisible voice, spoke to them and told them exactly where to dig. And after they digged some dirt up, there, before their eyes, was Sri Govinda Dev, more beautiful than tens and millions of cupids, Kandarpas. Everyone was struck with wonder. Their hearts melted. They brought Govinda Dev out and established him right where they had found him. And Sri Rupa Goswami began the puja of Sri Radha Govinda Dev. After some time, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, who was the son of Tapan Mishra, who personally served Lord Chaitanya with love and devotion when he was just a little boy in Varanasi. Lord Chaitanya told Raghunath Bhatta Goswami that you should stay with your parents, they are great Vaishnavas, and serve them. After some time when he grew up, he went to Puri and served Lord Chaitanya there by cooking for him and massaging them. And then Lord Chaitanya sent him back to Varanasi and told him to do three things. He said, remain a brahmachari, serve your parents, and under the guidance of a senior Vaishnava, study Srimad Bhagavatam. He did that until his parents passed away, and they blessed him to go back to Puri to be with the Lord. He stayed with the Lord for about 8 months, and then Lord Chaitanya sent him to join Rupa and Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan. And he became such a powerful, powerful Vaishnav. One of his disciples, Raj Man Singh, who was a general under the King Akbar, built the temple of Radha Govinda Dev. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami is celebrated in Chaitanya Charitamrita because he offered Govinda Dev a beautiful flute and earrings that were shaped like sharks. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami himself, he was happy to sleep in the dirt under trees. But to be the servant of Rupa Goswami, he built the most magnificent temple in this entire part of India for Govinda Dev. He wore simple torn loincloths, but ornamented Govinda Dev's body with elegant jewels. Srila Prabhupada taught us that the pleasure of the soul is in giving pleasure to Krishna. No matter how nice our house is, it will always be a source of anxiety. Just the other day I was driving with some brahmacharis, and we passed by a very big, expensive, famous house. And the devotees were telling me how much anxiety the owner of the house because it just wasn't right. Yes. How much money it costs, how much time it costs. But it just wasn't right. And I turned to one of the brahmacharis and said, "You're sleeping on the floor under a mosquito net. It costs about 20 rupees, and everything's right." Yes? It's happy. So no matter how much money, no matter how much effort you put into a place of residence, it's never right. It's always a cause of anxiety. And no matter how much we decorate these bodies, it can never give any satisfaction to the heart. And even if you have beautiful diamonds and rubies and emeralds and gold and silk decorating your body's still going to grow old and get all wrinkled up and sickly. And even if you have the nicest oils on your hairs, it's still going to grow gray and white. So Raghunath Bhatta Goswami is teaching us the secret of happiness. Make Krishna happy. Srila Prabhupada made it so simple. He said, if you actually find the pleasure of decorating Krishna, then you're so happy you don't have to decorate yourself. And if you do it for Krishna. If you learn to find pleasure and give Krishna fine foods, then you'll be happy with anything. Bhakti is the art of giving pleasure to Krishna. When you water the root of the tree, then every part of the tree is nourished. When you supply food to the stomach, every part of the body is satisfied. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami symbolized that. He had his disciples build Radha Govinda temple, 7 stories high, the most incredible monument in all of northern India. And he slept on the ground under trees. We cannot imitate that. But Mahajano Yena Gatasa Panta, to follow in the footsteps of the great souls, is the perfection of life. When Rupa Goswami sent a letter to Lord Chaitanya, actually Lord Chaitanya went to the Tota Gopinath temple of Gadadhar Pandit in Puri. And while he was there, he said to his devotees, "I haven't heard anything from Rupa Goswami in a long time." And exactly at the moment he said that, a messenger came in with a letter from Rupa Goswami. Now, to deliver a letter in those days, you had to find someone who was willing to walk 1,000 miles by foot to hand deliver it. Those really good days. And look at what people accomplished. Today we can't accomplish anything next to what the 6 Goswamis did. And we have internet and email, and within seconds you accidentally type the wrong thing and press a button and it's sent to the whole world. But when Lord Chaitanya got this message hand-delivered from Vrindavan, he read it to the devotees, and it was Rupa Goswami. He said, I found Radha Govinda Dev. And Lord Chaitanya was so happy. He called one of his two personal servants, Govinda and Kashishwar. Kashishwar Pandit, he was the personal servant with Govinda of Ishwara Puri, Lord Chaitanya's guru. And they both came after Lord Chaitanya returned from South India and said, Ishwara Puri, our Guru Maharaj, told us to come and be your personal servants. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he turned to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He said, this is not right. They are my godbrothers. They are the personal servants of my Guru. How could I allow them to serve me? You are expert in the science of the Shastras and etiquette. Please, what is your opinion? And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied that there is nothing more powerful than the order of the spiritual master. It is their order to serve you, and that takes precedent over all other forms of etiquette. So Lord Chaitanya allowed Govinda to massage him and do all menial services for him. And Kashishwar Pandit was very strong. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would dance in ecstasy, Kashishwar would keep the crowds back. And when Lord Chaitanya would go to Jagannath Temple, he would clear the way so that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could get in. Day and night he was with the Lord. Lord Chaitanya told him, I want you to go to Vrindavan and assist Rupa Goswami in doing seva for Radha Govinda Dev. This was heartbreaking for Kashishwar Pandit. To give up the personal association and service of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya could see his feeling. And Lord Chaitanya personally gave him a small deity of himself. The name of the deity was Gaur Govinda, little deity of Krishna, that Lord Chaitanya said, this is me. And you place him on the right hand, on the right side of Govinda Dev, and whenever you offer bhoga to Gaur Govinda, you will personally see me eating. And whenever you worship Gaur Govinda, you will feel my presence as much as you feel it today. So Kashishwar Pandit brought that deity to Vrindavan and installed him next to Govinda Dev. And with Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Rupa Goswami and so many others, they all together rendered loving service to Sri Sri Radha Govinda. The son of King Prataparudra, his name was Purushottam Jana. And he wanted to establish deities of Srimati Radharani besides Madan Mohan and Govinda Dev. Because as they appeared to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, it was only Krishna. But the Goswamis, they had the transcendental vision to see that Krishna and Srimati Radharani are never separated in Vrindavan. That the empress of Krishna's heart is always Srimati Radharani. And when they would worship Madan Mohan and Govinda, they could personally see and worship Radharani within the heart of Krishna. But Purushottam Jana was thinking, for for the rest of us, Radharani should be visible. So with great efforts, he obtained 2 beautiful, beautiful deities of Srimati Radharani and sent them in an entourage to Vrindavan. And everyone in Vrindavan were very much excited. They were arranging magnificent festivals to celebrate Srimati Radharani to be installed next to Madan Mohan and Govindadev. And when the 2 deities of Radharani arrived, just before the 2 festivals, the pujari of Madan Mohan temple had a vision in a dream where Srimati Radharani appeared to him and said, actually, everyone is thinking that these are both deities of me, Radharani. But in truth, one of them is Radharani and the other is Lalita Saki. And they should both be installed, one on the right side and one on the left side of Madan Mohan. As soon as the pujari told all the Brijabasis and all the pujaris this story, they all accepted it. And there was a wonderful celebration for Radha and Lalita to be installed with Madan Mohan. Meanwhile, Purushottam Jana he was very happy, but still he wanted Radharani's Murti to be with Govindadev. And some time passed, and he was praying. But in those days, it wasn't that you just go to a bazaar and have some deity made. It was a very, very rare and special thing. And then he had a dream where Srimati Radharani appeared to him and told him a story. He said, sometime back in the land of Utkala or Orissa, in the village of Radhanagara, lived a great devotee named Brihad Banu, who had a murti of Srimati Radharani. And he loved her as his own daughter and served her with his life and soul, his whole life. But then he died, and he had no children. So the deity was left without anyone to do seva. And at that time, the king of Orissa, came to that village of Radhanagar and saw that this most beautiful murti of Sri Radha was without. So you go in Jagannath temple and you go to that deity of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. That's actually me, Radharani. I want to go to Vrindavan to be worshipped with Govindadev. So he sent in a beautiful procession Sri Radharani to be installed on the left-hand side of Govindadev in their beautiful temple here in Sri Vrindavan town. And we will continue tomorrow because it's becoming late. To conclude, Sri Rupa Goswami the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, they actually opened the doors of this most secret and confidential of all abodes of the Lord to the world. through their writings, through their example, Lord Chaitanya literally opened the doors of Vrindavan to the world. And under the order of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, the inspiration of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the will of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, Srila Prabhupada came out from these doors, traveled around this world about 12 times, and built the Krishna Balaram temple. To facilitate people from all over India and from all continents of the world to come into those doors and enter into the transcendental atmosphere and enter into the transcendental state of consciousness of Vrindavan. When Srila Prabhupada was living at Radha Damodar temple, he would pray to Sri Rupa Goswami again and again to empower him to fulfill the mission of his Guru Maharaj. At that time, Srila Prabhupada had practically no money. He had no one to assist him in any way. He left Vrindavan to go to the West with nothing except love and compassion and the holy name of Krishna and his books. In 1972, he had a handful of devotees from all over the world come to Vrindavan in the month of Kartik to sit right at Rupa Goswami's Samadhi, where for 1 month Srila Prabhupada gave classes on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion. And by Srila Prabhupada's divine grace, even in his physical absence, what was then about 20 or 30 devotees, Malati Devi Prabhu was there at the time, Yadubar Prabhu was there at the time. From the whole worldwide movement, I think there was about 30 or 40 devotees that came for that during the month of Kartik. And today, during Kartik, I don't know how many tens and thousands of devotees are everywhere in Vrindavan under the inspiration of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.